But does one ever truly have a choice? One can only match, move by move, the machinations of fate, and thus defy the tyrannous stars.
In 1996, the Legacy of Kain series began with a PS1 title called Blood Omen. Over the next 7 years, 4 more games would be released in the franchise, and then Legacy of Kain would go dormant for quite a long time. The last couple of years have seen a bit of a resurgence for the Legacy of Kain series. A franchise that was once thought dead is starting to show signs of life once again. An incredibly successful Kickstarter for a Legacy of Kain graphic novel, a remaster of both Soul Reaver 1 and 2 that resurrected lost content from the grave, even a backer kit campaign for a Legacy of Kain TTRPG. And just a few weeks ago, a new entry was announced called Legacy of Kain Ascendance, a pixel art side-scroller releasing at the end of this month. Along with that new game, it was announced that Legacy of Kain Defiance would be remastered as well. I was lucky enough to be able to get an early code for this game and play it for a few days. A video I did on Legacy of Kain was easily one of the first and largest successes that I've had on my channel, so I always have to cover the series when something new comes out. Hey Dad, it's me, your favorite son, and today I'd like to talk about Legacy of Kain Defiance Remastered.
As long as I lingered here, defying my captor, I was able to postpone what I feared was my inevitable doom. To become the ravenous spirit imprisoned in the Reaver Blade. But that sentence was no worse than the stalemate I now endured. Better to face one's destiny than cower from it.
Legacy of Kain Defiance was released in 2003, and it was the last mainline entry in the Legacy of Kain franchise. It attempted to bring to fruition both Raziel and Kain's stories. During the game, you jump back and forth between playing both characters, following each of their journeys throughout time and space. Their attempts to decipher prophecy, to find meaning in the past and future, to strengthen themselves for what's to come. When we first see Raziel, he's attempting to escape the grasp of the Elder God, and Kain is infiltrating a Seraphan stronghold to try and find Mobius the Time Streamer. The Legacy of Kain Defiance Remaster is very similar to the Soul Reaver Remaster, despite not being developed by the same people. The latter remaster was developed by Aspyr, but Defiance has been developed by Play Everywhere. They mostly seem to do ports of games for different systems and help with optimization, but they were the sole lead on Defiance. I did make a video on the Soul Reaver remasters when they released, and I absolutely loved those. I would say that I mostly have similar opinions on Defiance, but with some slight nitpicks. First of all, I just have to say that it's amazing to now have this game playable on modern systems. The PC version in particular was notoriously difficult to get running. I remember having a ton of problems trying to get it to run for that original Legacy of Kain video. So at the very least, having a working version of Defiance is fantastic. So what changes did the team make to this version of Defiance? Well, the largest changes are in the game's aesthetics, meaning textures, lighting, and the game's perspective. All of the textures in the game have been quote-unquote remastered, slightly redesigned and upscaled across the board. I think for the most part the models look fine. There are some that I don't really like that much. In particular, I don't love Kain's design when compared to the original Defiance, though that might just come down to preference. Now, for clarity's sake, the Steam page does state that AI-assisted tools were used to upscale textures in the game. But I believe that Aspyr uses AI upscaling for their remasters as well, so this isn't anything new. If you know me, you know that I am vehemently against generative AI. To be fair though, this is a different type of AI. There's a large difference between using AI to upscale something and using generative AI to create something that's derived from tons of other artists' work. I don't love it, but I recognize that there's unfortunately probably no going back to doing this specific kind of stuff by hand. That being said, this game has similar options to the Soul Reaver Remaster that lets you, with the click of a button, switch the style of both the UI and the textures back to the original if you want to. I love options like these because they genuinely present the best of both worlds for a remaster. This allows the game to become the definitive version of it because you can always have the original option if you want. One of the largest changes in this remaster, though, is the new camera system. If you never played Defiance, you won't know that the original camera could be a little bit wonky at times. Sometimes it was fixed, sometimes it would briefly follow your character, but mixing in precision platforming in some brief sections is a recipe for frustration. It doesn't ruin the game, but it makes some certain sections very annoying, let's say. The camera is now over the shoulder, which allows the player to get a much better view of where they're trying to go. Some fans may be disappointed that the fixed camera angles are gone, but they don't have to be because once again, literally with the click of a button, you can switch back to the original fixed camera view. I was actually shocked that they included this feature, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. I thought that I would love the over-the-shoulder camera, but it actually made me realize that the perspective essentially creates two wildly different experiences. The previous camera system did really allow the developers to frame perfect shots and curate vistas for the player to behold. So once again, being able to switch back and forth is a very nice feature that I'm incredibly appreciative of. On top of that, there are a ton of new features that have been added to the game. General gameplay and combat is mostly the same, but there are so many things just tucked away in the menus. There are new local maps for the different environments in the game. A completely reworked menu system boasts new lists of abilities and character features. The Dark Chronicle keeps track of the story details as you progress in the game. The Reavers are listed in their own separate submenu, and almost everything in the game has a written description. Artifacts and collectibles that we pick up have their own sections as well. There's an encyclopedia which has a written history of Nosgoth, details on the world of Nosgoth, characters, enemies, locations, and even a section for murals that we find in the game. One of my favorite things is that we can view the character models of each new person that we meet once we've interacted with them. The gallery for each character also contains a ton of concept art and promotional images related to the person. Both Raziel and Kain have skins that they can equip as well. Some of them just are returning them to their older designs, but some of them are very unique, like Kain's Scourge of the Circle skin that makes him look like his original Blood Omen form, and his Petty Nobleman skin, which makes him look like his human self before he was turned. There's even a Blood Omen 2 skin. Raziel has skins that make him appear like his pre-fallen self, and even one that implements his original shifter design. These skins are just such a cool extra feature. They don't make or break the game, but they certainly add a lot for people who have been longtime fans of the series. There's also 2 skins that you get access to after beating the game, but I won't spoil them. Speaking of longtime fans, one of the best additions to the Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remaster was reassembling a ton of the cut content from the original development builds of the game. Defiance succeeds in this trend by adding a lost levels section to the game, which allows you to roam around in the various cut rooms from Defiance. Even further than that, the deluxe pack of the game includes a demo that was reassembled for the Dark Prophecy sequel, a cancelled sequel that was supposed to follow Kain after Defiance, seeking out the Hilden. It's not very long, but it is insanely satisfying to see this stuff actually playable and recognized by modern teams. I don't have zero complaints though. There are some very minor bumps in the road that I have to note in this review. The first of which is a strange tick of the movement system in the game. Stopping movement seems to be a bit delayed, so when moving forward, once you stop pushing on the stick, the character still moves a bit forward further. I think this has something to do with the slow movement state that a character can go into by just pushing the stick forward halfway, but it seems to jump into that state when letting go of the stick as well. It's not a game-breaking bug, and honestly never got in the way of me completing the game's platforming sections. I almost didn't even notice it until I was outside of combat, just running along corridors. The other complaint that I have is that the Dark Prophecy demo that I talked about previously is only available in the deluxe edition of the game. The base game is only $25 and the deluxe edition is only $5 more at $30, but it still just feels kind of odd to put it behind that. I guess maybe because there's not a ton of people that are going to be super interested in it, but I just wanted to note that here so that people aren't confused when they buy the base game and don't see it. Also, the Shifter and Forsaken Master skins are locked behind pre-orders, which is kind of lame as well. Hopefully those are released later in a separate DLC, or they're just added for free. And again, like I said before, some of the updated aesthetics just really aren't my bag. I don't think it looks as cartoony as some of the other stuff, but in some places it just looks a bit too clean. That's naturally going to happen with upscaling textures and increasing fidelity, which is why I put so much emphasis on the original textures being included. With all that being said, I really enjoyed the Legacy of Kain Defiance remaster. I think most of it, the reassembling of lost content, the new additions to the game, the new perspectives and skins, are nice additions to the Legacy of Kain franchise. And at this point, that's the best that we can hope for, because just a few months ago we learned that Eidos Montreal was working on a soft reboot of the Legacy of Kain franchise, but it was cancelled after they were acquired by Embracer. Of course, the only way that we can prove that we want more Legacy of Kain games is by showing the owners of the IP that we're still interested. We are also getting another game in the series very soon, so I guess this is just one more taste of that terrible illusion.
Hope